What if Rapunzel was a soccer mom? I know, where is this video coming from? For whatever reason, when I get a cold, I like to play and create a sim. It's weird, I don't understand. But I thought it'd be fun to take Disney princesses, you know, some recognizable IP, and cross it over with mom stereotypes in The Sims and see what we can come up with. And honestly, I think that each and every one of the sort of crossovers we ended up doing today are scarily accurate and appropriate for it being completely randomized. For example, of course Rapunzel would be a soccer mom. Like, she's locked up in a tower for decades. By the time she gets out, she's of course going to want to go crazy getting her kids to every single activity that she missed out on as a kid. Like, this girl's never going to be home, right? She's got baseball, soccer, softball, gymnastics, hockey, like all of them. You can bet your bottom dollar her kids are going to all of them. Oh, and don't forget, probably guitar and piano lessons. And I mean, they're in a magic kingdom or whatever, so harps and stuff too. I don't know. All I know is she's going to be busy. She's going to be bussing those kids up and down the place. And honestly, go her. I know that we're probably all pretty familiar with the Rapunzel movie, Tangled, put out by Disney too long ago now, honestly. Was that like 10, was it more than 10 years ago? I don't know, too long ago. But it's a really good movie. It's a lot of fun. It's one of our absolute family favorites. What you might not know, though, is the original Grimm story, which I thought was fun. So I thought I'd give you a little rundown of that here today, because it's a delightful story. So basically, Rapunzel was not actually a princess in the original story. Rapunzel was born to a very, very poor man and his wife out in the countryside of, well, presumably Germany, since that's where the Grimm brothers are from. But to really understand sort of some of the humor and darkness behind the story, we have to go back to when the couple actually gets pregnant, because they've really, really been trying for a kid for a really long time, and they just can't have one, and it's really rough, right? Like, that sucks. They finally get pregnant. Hallelujah. And the wife starts craving these Rapunzel lettuces that are next door in the neighbor's garden. Well, the neighbor happens to be a witch, which, you know, maybe not the best neighbor relationship there, but they're poor. They can't afford to move. And this wife just really wants these Rapunzel lettuces. I think they're lettuces or cabbages. Whatever it is, I'll put it on screen here. And the wife, you know, pregnancy hormones be wild, and she's like, I am going to die if I don't get to eat one of these very specific lettuces that is growing next door in our neighbor's garden. And the husband, first kid, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's like, oh my gosh, my wife is going to die if she doesn't eat this one very specific vegetable. So he hops the fence, grabs the lettuce, brings it home. The wife eats it. She feels so much better. And so the whole pregnancy, the husband is jumping the fence over to the witch's garden, stealing the lettuces and bringing them back over for his wife to eat. Well, the witch catches them. I know, no big surprise. And she is mad, big mad that they've been stealing her precious lettuces. So she's like, you know what? I'm taking your kid. And what are they going to do? She's a witch. So... If you'd like the full story, I'll link it down below. The abridged version shall continue now. Takes the baby, names the baby Rapunzel, locks the baby up in her home in a tower away where nobody can find her, and her hair grows out, and we do the whole, like, you know, that part of the story. The middle part of the story, she grows up, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair, blah, 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 blah. Well, later on in the story, when the prince comes across Rapunzel's castle, because he heard about this maiden in a tower, and being a prince, of course, he has to go gallivanting about, figuring this stuff out. So he comes across the tower, climbs up, finds Rapunzel, beautiful, beautiful, do things, leaves, Rapunzel's pregnant, whoopsie doopsie, witch is like, not in my house, cuts off Rapunzel's hair, uses the hair to make a rope, so when the prince comes back, prince climbs up the hair, surprise, it's the witch, bam bam, eyes gone, poor blind man stumbles around the forest for a really long time. Rapunzel, in the meantime, again, who's been locked in a tower her whole life, can you imagine how traumatic the birth would have been? Gives birth to twins, and has these kids, and eventually is wandering the forest as well, as she escapes, I don't remember how, read the book, finds the prince, cries on his eyeballs, he can see again, happy family, just a nice classic Grimm fairy tale. So anyway, there's a very questionably retold version of the story. Actually, I think Into the Woods did a pretty good job with the Rapunzel story. Obviously, Disney's been very Disneyfied. But again, if you actually want the full story, like the original translation, it's a folktale. It was written hundreds of years ago. Some versions have some aspects of the story, other versions have others, but overall, the main story is the same. Lady got pregnant, stole cabbages, baby, tower, long hair, chopped off, death and destruction. The classic, you know? So anyway, that's the story behind Rapunzel from a more traditional standpoint. Of course, the Disney movie, much happier. Rapunzel is a princess, and there's a magical flower, and there's magical spells, and she gets stolen away from her tower, ends up sacrificing herself, more or less, right? So, like, roles reversed a little bit there. Anyway, it's a lovely movie. It really is. So now let's talk about soccer mom aesthetic. So... what is this video? I don't know. The soccer mom aesthetic, basically, from what I can tell on Pinterest, is a lot of like athleisure and it's just a vibe. Like, you just kind of know what it is. So I did my best. I've met and been in the presence of enough soccer moms in my day. I was kind of drawing inspiration from the sports ball games of my past. And I had a good time with this challenge. I really did. I also noted the irony because I just had a conversation, I think both in comment sections and in live streams, about how I probably won't do like an every room is a different Disney something something build challenge because I'm just not familiar enough with Disney stuff. We watched a few movies as a kid, but a lot of them we didn't. So there's probably only like a half a dozen movies where I'd actually be able to create a decent room around, where I would understand enough of the plot line, the lore, the references, stuff like that. So I don't think that me doing a challenge building based off Disney movies would really be very interesting, because I don't have the depth of knowledge that's kind of required to pull that off well. However, boy, do I have a depth of knowledge on moms, because that's been my life for the last 5 years. So I was like, hey, I can take a recognizable character, recreate them, put a little bit of mom sass on top, and I bet it'll be great. Vote down below if you think this is a terrible idea or not. I still have another 9 princesses on the wheel if you'd like to see something like this again, and the stories behind them. I always like the Rapunzel story. I think it's really funny. Also, how do you feel about this particular speed CAS? So what I actually did was I slowed down the clock in game to 0.2 so that when I put it in my editor, I would actually speed it up to 500%. So all the Sims animations are in real time, or like normal speed, and then my like mouse clicking around is not. I think it looks a lot better than the little eyes darting around and everything. That always throws me off. But also if it's just like weird because it's unlike what other people are doing, let me know. Now, in keeping with the Disney princess theme, I did go with the Disney princess, obviously. So I tried to stick with some general same colors, general same hair, right? Obviously trying to replicate the face and overlap, like, okay, if this was Rapunzel and Soccer Mom together, like, what would she wear as far as actual overall style, the shape of the clothes, colors, stuff like that. So that's what I was going for. I am also going to show you the little like outfits and whatever. I did my best. I brought up Pinterest and I did what I could to like match the Pinterest vibes, because I'm not really a style person either, but I think this reads as like soccer mom, maybe a little bit PTA mom. I think it works. Also, all the poses I use will be linked down below directly in the video description if you like any of them. A few different creators here. Next up, what if Pocahontas was a cool mom? Now, cool is in quotes here, and I genuinely thought about respinning this one, because I thought for cool in quotes versus cool not in quotes, cool in quotes is like trendy, but imposter syndrome kind of trendy. Well, not really imposter syndrome. What's the right word? Basically, trendy and like trying to fit in, but not actually fitting in because you don't actually have the self-confidence you need to like do that. And I felt like that was a little bit aggressive for our poor girl Pocahontas here. But then I was like, it's also kind of appropriate. Like, this child it was a messy time. So again, Disney movie versus reality. Let's chat. I've actually only seen Pocahontas once, and it was literally decades ago. I have no frame of reference for the movie. All I know is it's wrong, because I'm pretty sure that she marries the John Smith dude in the movie, and that is entirely not what happened. So Pocahontas, actually, when she met John Smith, was just a little kid, and Pocahontas was a nickname, not her true name, but as many cultures believe, including Pocahontas' own, if you reveal your true name to somebody, then they have additional power over you. So that sort of played into why Pocahontas is the name that we now know her as. Her main role was as a translator between the English and her tribes. And I'm also going to link an article. I'm going to link so many things in the description today, you guys. I'm going to link an article from the Smithsonian that I was reading about this. I was reading a few articles to get ready for the video, but I liked this one because it actually has an interview with somebody who's dug very, very deeply into Pocahontas' history. Because as I'm sure the Disney movie has left none of you surprised about this, there's just a whole lot of myth and not a lot of fact floating around out there about Pocahontas. A lot of people, well, you know what? I'm actually just going to read this one particular bit from the article because I think that this is really important. So the question posed to the guest is, as you point out in the documentary, it's not just Disney with his 1995 animated film Pocahontas that gets the story wrong. This goes back to Smith, John Smith, who marketed their relationship as a love story. What class and cultural factors have allowed that myth to persist? And Camilla Townsend then replies, The story that Pocahontas was head over heels in love with John Smith has lasted for many generations. He mentioned it himself in the colonial period, as you say, then it died, but it was born again after the American Revolution in the early 1800s when we were really looking for nationalist stories. Ever since then, it's lived in one form or another right up to the Disney movie and even today. The reason it's so popular, not among Native Americans, but among people of dominant Western culture, is that it's very flattering to us. The idea that this is a good Indian. She admires the white man, admires Christianity, admires the culture, wants to have peace with these people, is willing to live with these other people rather than her own people, marry him rather than one of her own. That whole idea makes people in white American culture feel good about our history, though we are not doing anything wrong to the Indians, but really we're helping them, and the good ones appreciated it. And from the very little that I remember about this movie, I'm pretty sure that's quite accurate to how it was portrayed there. Love it or hate it, the victor writes the textbooks. If you go into it with the understanding that since whoever won the battle, for lack of a better phrase there, is the one who ends up writing what we all read, you're much more likely to go into it with some skepticism and try to dig up your own resources. So, I will link this Smithsonian article down below, because like I said, the whole interview is pretty interesting, but I'm not going to rate it all here. That's not what this video is about. This video is just random stuff happening. I will say I was also a little scared to put Pocahontas' face together because again, I have not watched this movie in literally probably 23 years. Like, it's been a long time. So like, I don't remember what she looked like. I was bringing up stills from the film. I think she's very pretty though. I felt kind of bad putting her in this like stupid little video. But I was pretty happy that I was able to get the face, I think, pretty accurate, at least for my skill set. You might also notice no wedding ring here because we are not tying Pocahontas to that life. She was a lot of fun to put clothes on. Like, her face turned out so good. And I was like, heck yeah, slay, gorgeous. So I did feel kind of bad for the whole like, quote unquote, cool, like, just trendy, trying to fit in, but not really there. But also, it kind of fits with the story. She, again, very quick notes. She was a young child, 10, 12 years old, when the English came over. She was mostly utilized as a translator, which is common with children because children can pick up languages more easily, as opposed to trying to have two 40-year-old dudes, like, communicate. So that was her role mainly. She did have one child within her tribe who she then had to leave behind when she was kidnapped and brought over to England, where she was toted around as basically a token of how great the English were doing with conquering all of these horrible people over in America. And it's disgusting. Honestly, they gave her a new name, started calling her Rebecca. She had another son named Thomas, I believe. And it's just a really tragic story, which is why I was saying everything sort of like fit the characters that are spun up here. Again, completely random, just a wheel spin. But it was also nice because I haven't dug into the Pocahontas lore recently. It was back in high school that I last went through like early American history, and it was 20-something years ago that I last watched this movie. So yeah, it was interesting. Let me know what historical tidbit you love most about Pocahontas or other stories from the same general time, 1600s or so, early 1600s. There we go. Also, as much as I would love to hate on Disney, I do appreciate that at the very least, even though they did do a romantic storyline, they also made Pocahontas older than she actually was because, yeah, 10, 12 years old, sitting on the banks of a river with a dude, learning languages, swapping words and phrases and stuff. It's quite a different story. I think somewhere in here I also played with possibly making these guys adults instead of young adults, but I ended up sticking with young adults as their age. It's kind of like a default, I think, for me. Plus, I didn't actually give them kids. This is just a weird tangential storyline that I've got going on in my head over here. Now, I did give them all aspirations and traits, but I didn't do likes and dislikes. I tried to pick based off like the Disney movie, but also where they were probably transitioning into adulthood. For example, Pocahontas, obviously not supposed to be a very romantic story, but I did give the soulmate aspiration just because she deserves somebody, like a true love, honestly, after everything that she's gone through. So I'd love to see that for her. Also, I bought the rest of the Create a Sim kits because I wanted to do this video, so I now own everything in the game except for Bust the Dust. So thank you all for watching these stupid little videos and helping that become a reality. I like it because then I don't have to worry about putting limitations on challenges and stuff, which is more fun for me to see what you guys are putting together. And like with our Rags to Riches Let's Play, if I put you guys in the rentals as we go through that, then I don't have to worry about what packs you have and if anybody shows up without pants or whatever, you know? So there are a lot of benefits on top of just making the most random video you ever saw cross your feed on a Thursday. How do you think I did? I'm not a CAS person, not a Disney person. How this video even came to be, who the heck knows? But here we are. I had a lot of fun with this one though. I think she's cute. I might put her in one of my games. And finally, what if Snow White was a crunchy mom? I did laugh at this one at first because I was like, poor girl was just rescued from living in the middle of the woods. Like, you feel like she might want some modern amenities. And then I was thinking about it. When okay, depending on the story, it's either mother or stepmother. Okay, it was originally mother, but then it was changed later on to be stepmother because apparently that was too dark even for Grimm, the Grimm brothers. But, oh yeah, this is also a Grimm brothers fairy tale. Anyway. So this poor girl, right? She's like, what, 13, 14 max? When all this stuff goes down in the movie. What the heck? Also, I grabbed the posters for the movies because I want you to see this. Look at this original poster. Like, I think because we've been watching this movie over and over again for our whole lives, we forget what a miracle it was when it was first released. The whole concept of animation and making things appear to move when they don't actually move and like all that stuff, like that's been around for a hot minute. But what Walt Disney did was phenomenal. What he did for the filmmaking industry, for the animation industry, for artists, for music, for soundtracks, the Snow White film revolutionized so many industries. Like, problematic? Sure. Disney a great dude? Not really. But when you just take Snow White and look at what that film did for history, for culture, for the arts, like, insane. It's one of those things where I hope that before I show it to my kid for the first time, we can talk about some of the history of why it was so important. Because otherwise, like, we're so used to just amazing movies, and you watch older movies and you're like, ah, gross, this animation kind of sucks. Like, yeah, it did. Because, like, this was beyond cutting edge. And look what happened. Look what we have now. Crazy. Anyway, so Snow White, just as a Disney film, phenomenal. As a story, a little bit spooky. But here's what I'm thinking. After all of the poisoning attempts and murder attempts that she's been through, you can bet her your bottom dollar Snow White's going to want to know exactly where all of her produce is coming from. Certified organic, she's going to raise as much of it on her own land as she can. She's going to want to know exactly where her clothes are coming from. She's going to want all natural fibers and dyes so that people can't be lacing them with poison. Like, it makes sense, right? Little crunchy Snow White over here. Now, it was a bit of a struggle going through these outfits with Snow White because I wanted to make her crunchy, not cottagecore, and especially with that such like round, soft face that she has and her big eyes and everything. And she would definitely be an adult because she and Florian, I think, were 14 and 16 at the end of the film. There's some nonsense going around. Oh, Florian was like 30, 40 years old. No. He's not, okay? He was also very young. He looks super young in the movie. They're both just kids, okay? They're both just kids getting through the world together, and I think that that's cute. Moving on. She is supposed to be crunchy, not cottagecore. This one was tough because I wanted to gravitate toward like the cottage living stuff because it's cute and it has like some of those wider silhouettes and the bagginess and the rolled up sleeves and the aprons and like all that stuff, but not cottagecore. Cottagecore is different. It might be on the wheel. I don't even remember at this point, honestly. Oh, and I will also link, of course, Snow White's story down below. Disney, family-friendly, happy-go-lucky, positive ending, la 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 la. Grim, dark and spooky, which I enjoy, but, you know, maybe not for the little ones. Also, if you want more questionable retellings of folklore, folk tales and fairy tales and folklore, we're going to pretend that was a string of words. It is also a redeem on stream. You can make me tell you a story, and I will tell you a story. It probably won't be true. Most definitely will be not told in a straight line, but it'll be a good time. Also, Snow White, for whatever reason, the game decided to keep the wrong hair. I was really excited that it was keeping the same makeup through all of the faces because I pretty much always add blush and highlighter to every single set as like skin details, not as blush and highlighter, because otherwise their faces are just super duper flat. And it was working great for Rapunzel, and it was working great for Pocahontas. And then I got to Snow White, and it's like, screw you. So that was fun. So I had to go through and reset that on every outfit, which was less than enjoyable, but like, whatever. I feel like there was something else I wanted to tell you about Snow White, but I don't remember what it was. Oh well. I forgot, honestly, how much I enjoyed reading the Grimm fairy tales until I decided to do this video, and then I was like, oh man, the original story for Rapunzel's so interesting. I should refresh myself on the original story of Snow White as well. And I thought about reading them, but the Snow White read aloud would take like 10 minutes. And I feel like you guys don't care that much, so you can read it yourself. Or let me know if you want me to read you stories, and I'll read you a book for bedtime. I think Grimm fairy tales are about as long as the stories I'd read. I don't think I'm going to launch into anything else. Also, they're in public domain, which is fabulous, because I'm not going to come on here and start reading y'all Narnia and Lord of the Rings, because then, as much as I don't do this for the money, I kind of do appreciate the money. I had a lot of fun with this video. Please judge me down below in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback. Whether it's a good feedback or bad feedback. Like, honestly, all of it's useful. I have a hot take, which is don't watch creators' videos just because you like them, like the creator, because that doesn't help me. I need you guys to actually, like, not watch stuff that's not good so that I know that it's not good, so that I can maybe try to make something better. Or maybe I won't, because I don't care. Who knows? On that lovely note, I love you guys. I really, really do. This is hopefully the most random video of the year, because if I make a more random video than this, I don't want to know what is going to cause that mental breakdown. Anyway, enough about me. Here's another look at Snow White. I love these poses. These are some of my favorite that I came across for the whole video. So I will be putting these, of course, down below, as well as a link to the original Snow White fairy tale. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know one way or the other. And I look forward to seeing you again, maybe for a more normal video very, very soon. Bye!